are out here pumpkin picking with the fam. A few people have been reaching out to me lately on why the home setup? Why do you spend so much money and effort into emphasizing the importance of brewing coffee at home? Why put so much effort into helping people brew great coffee at home? Why not just go to a cafe and do what the vast majority of the population does with coffee? And so I wanted to take a few minutes and talk to you about why you should brew coffee at home. You see, I realized I haven't had an opportunity to introduce Brew at Home and why I started this YouTube channel. You see, it started as a website, a blog, and then it transformed into an Instagram page, and now I've started this YouTube channel, all in hopes to help you brew better coffee at home. And I hope I can help you do that. And that's gonna be done through many different ways, through recipes, through instructionals, through reviews. And if you want more content about coffee, more things that can help you brew good coffee at home, do me a huge favor as a young creator in this, smash that like button. It really does help, and subscribe if you haven't yet. It would mean the world to me. And in the comments below, let me know what you would love to see in the future. But I want to talk about why you should even brew at home, why you should put so much effort and time and money into investing into this hobby, this craft of brewing coffee, because it ain't cheap. It takes a lot of time and a lot of practice and a lot of trial and error. And so why should you invest all of that into brewing coffee at home? It's a good question. Let's talk about it. Now, before we talk about why you should consider brewing at home, maybe we should talk about what it is. And I know that might seem so simple, but the reality is brewing at home isn't exclusively at home. I think it's also a craft that can be done at the office, on a camping trip, or anywhere where you need to manually brew some coffee. And so I have in my brew bar here a bunch of coffee equipment and brewers and filters and coffee bags, but brewing at home can be as simple as a French press to a pour over like a V60 Kalita or even a Chemex as seen up there. Or it could be an espresso machine or an automatic brewer at the office or at home. But simply what we're really focusing on here is you making coffee at home, at the office, on a camping trip, fill in the blank, and doing it well. I'm talking about specialty coffee. I'm talking about coffee that is worth your while and worth taking time to really craft. That is brewing at home. So why do I brew coffee at home? It started off with simply two pieces of equipment, an AeroPress and a kettle. And for years, that's all I used. And it started with a passion for coffee. I remember at 16 years old, I remember having to get up at 5:30, 6 in the morning as a 16-year-old. I was tired, and there was a coffee shop across the street from the school I was going to. And I remember on that lunch period, I went over to this coffee shop and got a coffee for the first time, and I loved it. And from there, I started drinking more and more coffee all the time. Maybe you have an experience like this, and if you're watching this, you're probably a coffee lover, or you have an interest in coffee to some extent. And we all have our stories with coffee and how it started and how we got hooked and why we love this beverage, this drink so much. But for me, it's more than just a get up and go. And this is why I wanted to make this video about Brew at Home, why I wanted to start all of this to help people make great coffee, because I think it can be more than just your morning java to give you energy. I think it's more than that. There's such a great craft within this amazing beverage. People have devoted their entire lives into coffee and producing it, farming it, roasting it, and then brewing it. And I think at home, we often just take whatever we can get. We'll take the grocery store coffee that's been sitting on the shelf for months and just throw it in a brewer and consider it a good cup of coffee. And I have an issue with that. I think there's so much more value to this drink than we give it credit for. And this is why I brew coffee at home, because for me, it is a passion. And hopefully this passion can rub off in this video. And I just want to give you some quick points of why I brew coffee at home and why I believe maybe you should too. You see, the first one, and it's an easy one, but I think brewing coffee at home can taste better. Yes, I said that. Better than a cafe, better than people who are paid to make your cup of coffee. I think there can be more than just that cheap cup of coffee that you give a few bucks for. I think that the best flavors that can be extracted from coffee can be done in a very controlled, slow environment. You see, in a cafe, and I'm a huge lover of cafes within our city here in Ottawa, but they're all pressed for time. There's a lineup of people behind you, and they've got to give you a product in a certain amount of time. They can't put the time and effort and care into a drink that maybe you deserve, but also that coffee deserves. So sometimes the best option isn't the quick option. And I think with coffee, that's the case. I also think the idea of brewing at home, you have the ability to figure out and gain a better understanding of what makes a good cup of coffee. Again, if you only go to a cafe, then you never fully understand what makes a good cup of coffee, other than recognizing that they're using a certain type of bean and they are a skilled barista. But the reality is you can be somewhat skilled as a coffee brewer as well. It's really not that hard. There are a lot of trial and error, and there are some equipment that needs to be purchased, but other than that, it really is something that anybody can figure out at home with some help, with some people like myself, and there are many more creators like me who want to help you make great coffee, people who have a passion for this craft. But there's also a deeper level to this, and I think it's greater than just having a great cup of coffee, and it's greater than just experiencing and understanding coffee more. I think there's another level to coffee, which I'm incredibly passionate about, and I want to share that with you. And that's the idea that we are supporting the business of coffee. You see, coffee roasters all across our nation, I live here in Canada, but across our continent in North America and across the world, are doing an incredible job at producing great coffees for you and I. So when we're buying specialty coffee, when we're brewing coffee at home, we're supporting a roaster to a level that maybe a cafe can't, because they're buying wholesale, or maybe there's a certain coffee that a cafe will never purchase, a special limited time edition, a geisha, maybe a more expensive coffee. I mean, fill in the blanks there, but the coffee roaster is supported when people are brewing coffee at home. But what that does in turn is when we're buying from roasters who are buying ethically, who are supporting producers and farmers ethically, that ends up supporting those producers and farmers as well. And so within brewing at home, we're able to help people more than just in our own country and supporting locally and supporting small businesses. We're actually able to support farmers across the world in producing coffee. And so if we want coffee to be around for a while, we want the best cup of coffee possible. We want it to be more than just a get up and go in the morning. I believe we need to support roasters. And also, more than just supporting coffee roasters, there's also the reality of supporting gear manufacturers. When we're making coffee at home, we need some kind of gear to make that coffee. And in order to do that, we're buying gear. I think the idea of everyone within this sphere of coffee doing well is exciting. The gear manufacturer, the roaster, the farmer, the producer. I think even supporting gear manufacturers, gear suppliers that are local is exciting, and I would encourage you to do that. In fact, what I'll do is I'll link some below, regardless of if you live in America or in Canada. And one of my last reasons why I brew coffee at home is ultimately it is cheaper. Yeah, I know I've got all the gear and it can be expensive, but you don't need that. As I've said so many times in this video, you really only need a brewer, some filters, and a kettle, and you can make great coffee at home. Now, I'm gonna make another video some other time about what I would recommend to you to purchase But for this video, I want to talk about the why you should consider brewing coffee at home. But it is cheaper. I mean, if you're going to a cafe every day and you're spending $2 to $3, do the math of what that works out to over a year, and that's only one coffee a day. A bag of coffee may cost $15, $20, maybe a little bit more, and you might get 15 to 20 coffees out of that. It all depends on what you want to do and how you're brewing coffee at home. But ultimately, at the end of the day, you can be saving money, which everybody wants to do within this climate of this pandemic. You can be saving money. So for me, it's a big factor into the longevity of this hobby and this craft, is that it does save us money. Regardless of what equipment you've bought, you're still saving money within your daily brews. So should you brew at home? Well, I think this is a call only you can make. And I would love to say you need to brew coffee at home, and your life depends on it. This is something that will change your life, and I do believe that to a certain extent. But ultimately, it does depend on your situation. Are you able to spend 5 minutes a day here and there to brew a coffee? Do you have access to local roasters and specialty coffee roasters? Does your daily routine work better with stopping by a cafe? And is that something you want to support? And if it is, I mean, fill in the blanks there. It really does come down to your situation. But what we can all agree on is COVID-19 has changed the way that we think and the way that we do life. And so more people than ever have been brewing coffee at home because there has been no other option. And so regardless of the situation that you're in, I hope I can be a resource and help you brew great coffee at home. If you have any questions or comments or concerns about anything coffee related, follow me on my Instagram. I'll tag it down below here. My DMs are always open. I'd love to hear from you, what you think, what you want to know, and how I can help you. But in the meantime, let's continue to brew the best coffee that we can. And more importantly, let's brew at home.